上学好还是出国留学好？
我个人觉得出国留学最大的
The biggest value of studying abroad is not something you can measure. It's not about how highly ranked your university is in the world or how much you'll make at your first job after graduation. It's about gaining a broader perspective on the world. By studying abroad, you'll experience many things that are completely different from your hometown, the culture, the social atmosphere, and even the darker sides of some industries. These cultural clashes will make you observe and reflect on yourself, pushing you to think more deeply about life. The woman's comments highlight how studying abroad can expose students to different values and social perspectives, which may have a profound impact on their worldview and their understanding of China's system. This influence goes beyond embracing global thinking. It can also inspire reflection on Chinese societal issues. This is something the CCP is deeply concerned about. In response, the CCP not only creates a climate of fear to silence overseas students, but they've also recently released a statement accusing some immigration agencies of altering student records. They claim that these agencies are adding subversive remarks into the applications which may pose a threat to national security. On August 9th, China's Ministry of State Security issued a widely discussed statement on its WeChat account claiming that certain agencies were helping so-called anti-China forces infiltrate the country's youth. The statement alleged that these agencies inserted illegal content into students' application documents, harming the national image and endangering national security. The statement mentions that a student surnamed Zhang had purchased an elite VIP service from an immigration agency to apply for foreign universities. This agency claimed that some foreign universities had opened a fast track for Chinese students and that simply polishing the application materials will increase the chances of success. But the students' applications was later altered with an anti-government speech remark inserted. This led to the agency and its representatives being dealt with in May of this year. However, the statement did not disclose the names of the agencies or countries involved. In response, many people online have expressed their opinions, saying, the CCP, in its final state of madness and questioning what counts as anti-government speech, is simply voting against something now considered anti-government. This is just bandit logic. Former Beijing lawyer and chair of the Federation for a Democratic China in Canada, Lai Jianping, commented that the Ministry of State Security's heightened focus on study abroad applications revealed that the regime is facing a critical crisis. This is what causes them to treat every behavior as a major threat. Lai Jianping sees two possibilities for the ministry's actions. One is that they are cracking down on agencies to slow the immigration trend. The other is that they are worried because some countries and universities are lowering admission standards for Chinese students who think independently. In response to the ministry's claim that foreign forces are infiltrating the youth, Chinese rights lawyer Wu Xiaoping, now living in the US, called it a one-sided statement meant to scare the public. Wu Xiaoping pointed out that many Chinese students he has met come from families with vested interests and actually support the CCP's authoritarian regime. In fact, their study abroad could be a bigger threat to the security of the host countries, with some even acting as spies for the CCP. He thinks the CCP is shifting the blame. Wu also noted even if these students forge their records and make up anti-communist statements, they're fooling the host countries, not China. Those countries are the real victims. Lately, Chinese espionage focus on stealing intellectual property and infiltrating Western countries has gotten more attention. Earlier this year, US authorities questioned and deported several Chinese students in science and engineering. They paid close attention to the students' ties to the CCP and their involvement in tech-related research. Following this, several European universities placed restrictions on admitting Chinese students in science and engineering fields. Australian historian Li Yuanhua said the Ministry of State Security statement comes at a time when China's economy is struggling. Many families now want their children to study abroad and stay here. However, since it's relatively difficult to be a skilled immigrant, many students are seeking asylum as an alternative. According to the latest data from Australia's Department of Home Affairs, in the past 5 years, 3,555 Chinese students have applied for political asylum in Australia. This is much higher than from any other country, and the numbers are still growing. Some observers believe that poor human rights conditions and the lack of freedom of expression in China are pushing students to seek asylum. Li Yuanhua added that some students don't even go abroad to study. They use education as a way to apply for refugee status. He explained, to apply for asylum, they need to describe how they were persecuted in China. If they don't know what to write, the agency helps them by embellishing their stories. The agency makes money and the students write about their family's persecution. The CCP sees this as airing their dirty laundry, so they issued this notice to control the agencies. Wu Xiaoping concluded that if the CCP believes anti-government speech really does improve the success of studying abroad applications, it shows they know they're not accepted by the global community. In recent years, more Chinese students have been choosing to study abroad. According to Chinese media reports, the 2023 Open Doors report on international educational exchange shows that 289,000 students from China studied in the US during the 2022 and 2023 academic year. In Australia, 166,000 Chinese students were enrolled in 2023, according to the Australian Department of Education. The Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada IRCC also reported that more than 100,000 Chinese students studied in Canada in 2022. The report suggests several reasons why these students choose to study abroad. Number 1, access to different education. It provides them with a better understanding and acceptance of foreign cultures and educational resources of better quality. Number 2, language skills. Studying in English-speaking countries allows students to quickly master the language and improve their grammar and spelling. Number 3, preparation for immigration and overseas work. Some students plan to eventually move abroad, but due to stringent application process and qualifications, choose to study abroad as a preparation step for immigration. Number 4, personal development. Studying abroad exposes students to different cultures and ideas, broadening their horizons and improving their personal qualities. Overseas schools also offer more flexible learning methods and a more open educational environment, helping students develop soft skills like leadership, teamwork, and decision-making abilities. Number 5, increase in job opportunities. China's job market is becoming more competitive. Meanwhile, the overseas job market offers more opportunities. Large international companies often prioritize candidates with study abroad experience. Studying abroad boosts a student's chance of getting a job and helps them build a wider network for future career development. More Chinese people are choosing to leave China after the pandemic, and more parents are sending their children to study abroad. According to data from WeChat, searches for immigration reached 33 million in 2022, which is 5 times more than in 2021. Reports show that in 2023, China reopened its borders after 2 years of pandemic lockdowns. This led to a sharp increase in the numbers of families seeking study abroad opportunities for their children. This trend reflects China's economic struggles, such as falling exports, high youth unemployment, and a collapsing real estate market. As China's job market looks bleak, more students are choosing to study abroad because they see it as a better option than staying in their country. According to the South China Morning Post, European countries like Germany, Spain, and the Netherlands and Ireland are becoming popular destinations for Chinese students. An Associated Press report says that many young people are leaving China because of the government's handling of the pandemic. Ms. Huang, a student from Shanghai studying in the UK, said, "After 3 years of strict controls during the pandemic, most people realize the outside world is different and now they're more willing to leave." The Financial Times reported on August 5th that universities and international schools in Malaysia are seeing a surge in demand. The Malaysian Ministry of Education reported that in 2022, they enrolled 44,043 Chinese students, a 35% increase from 2021. Research by the Financial Times also shows that the number of Chinese students in international schools more than doubled between 2021 and 2023. In addition to Malaysia, Thailand has become a popular destination for young people leaving China. On the social media platform Xiaohongshu, many people have shared their decisions to move to Thailand. Many have obtained student visas to study there and are planning their next steps. In October last year, searches for immigration to Thailand reached 300,000 in a single day. Student visas are one of the most commonly used long-term visas. From kindergarten to universities and language schools, all can apply for student visas. At Singapore International School in Bangkok, the number of Chinese students admitted in March 2023 more than doubled compared to the same time in 2022. But in recent years, the Chinese government has increased its control over students studying abroad. The Guardian interviewed several Chinese students and recent graduates who said they were monitored, harassed, and intimidated by Chinese authorities due to their criticism of the CCP while studying in the UK. The CCP has been targeting overseas individuals as part of what's called transitional repression. This is a tactic to silence dissent and criticism. Steve Tsang, the director of the SOAS China Institute at the University of London, said that Chinese student protesters in the UK have long been photographed and monitored. He believes that with advances in surveillance technology, this practice is likely to increase. Some students also said that the families in China have been threatened by local authorities who warn them to stop participating in political activities abroad. According to The Guardian, most of these students have never been involved in political activities before moving abroad and were unaware of the risks. A student named Fang shared that his family in China was warned by local police after attending a rally last year. They were told that he had broken Chinese law by speaking to the media. Now, after criticizing the CCP under his real name, he's too afraid to return home. Amnesty International interviewed 32 Chinese students between October and December 2023. They found that many students have censored themselves and avoided political involvement because they fear harassment and retaliation by the CCP. The study showed that students in Belgium, Canada, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Switzerland, and the UK, and also in the US, have been punished for exercising free speech. These students worry that speaking out on human rights issues could affect their family's safety and careers. Sarah Brooks, head of the China team at Amnesty International, said that no matter where these students are studying, they are under pressure and often frustrated when seeking support. To protect the students' safety, their names and universities were anonymized in the report. Of the 32 students interviewed, 19 were from China, 12 from Hong Kong, and 1 from Macau. One student, Rowan, said she attended a vigil for the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre and received a message from her father. Just hours later, he told her that Chinese security officials had warned the family not to participate in activities that could harm China's reputation. Rowan believes that the CCP is clearly trying to monitor her, even from the other side of the world. The report revealed that 10 out of 32 students said that the families in China had been harassed by CCP officials because of their activities abroad. This harassment included having passport revoked, losing jobs, being denied promotions, and retirement benefits. They have even faced restrictions on personal freedom. The report also said that CCP officials pressure families to cut off financial support to their children studying abroad. One student shared that police told their parents to stop sending money and threatened other relatives with trouble if they continued to send funds. To protect their families, some students decided to cut ties with their parents in China. Rowan explained cutting ties is the worst option, but it's the best way to protect others. She believes that while it's not a legal form of protection, it's an effective way to stop security agencies from using family members as leverage. After the Tiananmen massacre, the CCP began increasing its controls over overseas students through Chinese consulates. By the late 1990s, the control became more noticeable, and the Chinese Students and Scholars Association in many countries evolved into a political tool for the CCP. The Chinese Students and Scholar Association, CSSA, is a student organization in overseas universities. Although it appears to focus on services and networking, it has increasingly become a CCP branch abroad. Data from China's Ministry of Education show that between 1978 and the end of 2018, over 5.8 million Chinese students studied abroad. In 2018 alone, 660,000 students went abroad. With such a large group, the CCP naturally wants to influence them, but can't directly control hundreds of thousands of students. That's why they use the CSSA to influence young students' thoughts and actions and push their political agenda. It's been widely reported that the CCP funds the CSSA. The University of Minnesota CSSA website states that it receives substantial funding from the Chinese consulate in Chicago. The Rice University CSSA website shows that one of its sources of funding is the Chinese consulate in Houston. Other CSSA websites have similar statements. A former mainland Chinese student named Li Jiabao, now living in Taiwan, told Radio Free Asia that more than a decade ago, CCTV aired warnings like "Beware of American spies in the country," he said. These claims are either completely false or based on how the CCP itself infiltrates other countries. Essentially, they're accusing others of what they're doing. Lee observed that after the 2019 pandemic, the CCP regime became more unstable and insecure, leading to a rise in propaganda. He explained after the pandemic, especially as more of China's middle class became aware and had the means to send their children abroad, they began to see that the regime isn't as civilized as it claims. The government can't control this shift, so it's tightening its oversight. In recent years, I've seen more people start to pay attention to issues they once ignored, which is tied to a growing awareness of democracy and civic rights. Lee mentioned that when he studied in Taiwan in 2019, the process was simple. It only required approval from the school and then submission to the local Taiwan Affairs office. However, things have become stricter since then. Students are now called to attend meetings at least 3 times before leaving, where they are told to follow CCP regulations and maintain political safety. Some students are even required to sign pledges promising not to make anti-communist remarks, not to participate in political movements, not to engage in Falun Gong, a meditation practice banned in China, and to return to China on time. The approval process has become more complicated, involving higher-level departments. An exiled Tibetan man named Tsering Dawa told Radio Free Asia that the CCP requires overseas Chinese students to cooperate with its Ministry of State Security if they become involved in national security matters. He also revealed that the CCP sends students abroad to steal high-tech secrets as part of its national security policy. Tsering explained that Tibetan students face even stricter scrutiny and must go through extensive approvals. This includes family guarantees, bank collateral, and stamps from local communities and civil affairs bureaus. He described it as a hostage-style collective punishment policy with Tibetan students in the Tibet Autonomous Region facing even more severe restrictions. He also pointed out that study visas require students to promise not to engage with foreign hostile forces, media, the Central Tibetan Administration, or the Tibetan government in exile. Violating these terms could result in serious consequences, such as freezing bank assets, parents losing their jobs, or being expelled from public service.